Welcome to Understanding the Unhoused. My name is Joshua. Through a series of interviews with the unhoused community and those working to help the unhoused community, my intention is to increase the awareness of and empathy for this group. They are a misunderstood group, and my hope is by hearing their stories directly, hearing exactly what it's like day to day to be unhoused in this country, you will recognize the humanity in them and do whatever you can to make their lives a little easier. Before I start, I would like to send some very large props out to my girlfriend, Wendy, who has encouraged me through the entire process of getting this podcast started and has helped me on my first series of interviews. You'll hear her beautiful voice during interviews. She has been nothing but a rock for me through this, and I could not thank her enough. Okay, enough ado. I first met the subject of my next interview, a gentleman by the name of Teyote, at the first encampment I ever went to with Renegade Feedings back in the day. Teyote has a very chill, wise vibe around him. I think that's the reason he has become the de facto Patreon of his encampment, the person who distributes supplies, makes sure that things get done for the people that are down there, and he always has a kind word, a good story, and if you're lucky, he'll play his guitar for you. We happened to get lucky enough to interview Teyote on his actual birthday, which was done on April 9th, and he had just turned 49. So, how cool is that? Teyote has a unique perspective, and because of that, it was important to me to include him in the first few episodes, because to make sure that his particular brand of wisdom is experienced by as many people as possible. Please enjoy the interview. What are the circumstances that led you to be unhoused?
Well, not everybody always got along with your peers or even your parents. So I made a choice and I left. Because the only way that I was going to be able to get out on my own and know that I'm going to be able to get on my own is that I have to do it myself. You know, I got married young. I already had a family when by the time I was 20, I was already getting my first divorce. You know, I've gone through a lot of experiences, but I remember this one lady, I changed her tire. She treated me to lunch. Her name was Nancy Bolanek. And I remember she mentioned something, disadvantagedly advantaged. When you don't have much growing up, you appreciate very little because you've had very little. So when something like this man right here, you just have to be nice to somebody to keep them sharp. You know, and that's what family does too. When they're doing the right thing, they'll keep you on your toes. I'm like, okay, for one thing, you're always wrong when you argue, especially when you raise your voice. You're really lost. Yeah. So I learned to listen, and I appreciate out here to sweep my dirt because I have dirt to sweep. You know, instead of some people are just not able to even stand anymore. And above all, that's when I learned how to forgive and not to hold it against somebody. Because I know what it's like to receive that and still be positive about it. That's what Jesus went through. That's what today, he went 3 days and then he came back. And I happened to share my birthday with first Easter. Coincidence is today. So when God made me, he was in a really good mood because his son was coming back.
How long have you been unhoused?
Over 10 years.
Have you always been in the same place? Have you moved around a lot?
No, we've moved around. Well, there were times where we're just been on the streets. What's hard about being on the streets is not that you've been unhoused before. It's like if you haven't been there for a while and then you hit the streets again and you're not ready. Especially like when they would do evictions and people aren't ready. That's what people lost hope. And then it's when you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. The halt, then all four of your walls have dropped and then you lit yourself up to be killed. You're not even trying. It's not that you don't care, it's just you're not paying attention anymore. Like I said, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. When you have all of those, then you're in a big problem.
What advice would you give to someone who has just become unhoused?
If they had a reality show, as just unhoused, I would say, thank the Lord that you're content that you're still able to walk. And you're still able to, because he's never going to let you go through something you can't handle. It's just, God gives us tests to make us sharper. You know, the tests are meant to make us stronger. That we believe, and you don't have to believe in God to do that. You believe in something you're going for, and that's why faith is very important, because then you believe in yourself, not necessarily anything else, but you believe in what you're doing. Like when you give somebody your word, It's like making a promise to yourself. A wise man told me that. And it's important to follow through with it, even though it might take some time. As long as you do, keep that one of your priorities, because just wait a minute, I gave something my word, and that's the problem with keep making too many promises. You still have to keep them, but they're important to keep. That's integrity.
What do you think is the most inaccurate perception of the unhoused?
That we're everything that one word homeless means to some people. I mean, it's easy to sum up something, but how can we just look at somebody and instantly think, oh, we know what they're going through? We all do it. We do. But then you realize that there used to be this song back in the days, is to walk in somebody's linen shoes. It had an interesting beat to it, but you really don't know until you live in somebody's eyes. And like one of the scriptures says about complaining about a speck in one eye, and we miss the log or the plank sticking out of our own.
Mm-hmm.
So wait a minute. Oh, we're always going to fall short of the glory, but it's like we're not always going to be happy. But if we're content, that means we're not complaining. And that's how some things are not so bad. When they say, oh, it's cold out here, and we're out here without no jackets because somebody just took it from us. But I've also been able to have somebody screw me over on the streets and whatever, to whatever degree, and still sit next to them in a fire later on. But there's times where you convince them, don't keep doing it. Because the first and second time it's not good for you. And you got to keep telling them, convince them, don't keep doing that because you don't have to.
Yeah.
After a while, sometimes people feel like they can keep doing something because they don't have any other choice. Like when I started doing shopping carts, because I wanted to stop doing drugs. So you have to because we're creatures of habit. We had to put something else in its place. If not, we will fall back into bad habits.
Wait, go back to that, shopping carts and doing drugs.
When I was going at the end of the night, I would get all the shopping carts at the shopping center, and I bring it up near the front because that's what they're going to need in the morning. And after a while, some of them didn't roll right, so I'd start taking the wheels off and taking the hair off and putting a new one, and make sure all the ones in the back could be any numerous. Could be up to like 30 of them back then. They charge the cart guy comes out, charges $2,500 to come out and change some wheels. And for one day they had out a sign in front of Safeway, sorry we don't have any carts because the homeless are taking them, which wasn't true. We've always been around. There's always been a circulation. That's why even the cart technician who comes out and picks up the carts, we must also have a rapport with the people. Say, hey, I got to bring these back to the stores because their company policy says they can't take the carts if they have anything, and state law says you can't take anything if it's got personal property in it. It's a thin line. It's like trespassing, only when they want that person trespassed, and then they'll apply the law. But other than that, that's pretty open law. And so after a while, we were starting to collect carts, and then one by one, it started happening. But one thing I didn't do is I was not taking carts so I could get credit for it. So it was important that I didn't do that. But then when the city, they came in, they were evicting everybody on this side. I remember asking the highway patrol when the guy gets back from lunch, the foreman, I even heard what he says. It's something I heard that, like a gangster saying, like a book I read about. There was this one guy, and he was a head of a mob, right? And he's playing a poker game in a hotel for over almost 2 days. And they accused him of cheating or whatnot, and he got shot by somebody. And while he was in the hospital dying, they asked him, tell us who shot him. And he goes, you run your outfit the way you run yours, and I'll run mine the way I learned how to run mine. And so he died with the name of the person who shot him. He could have told him. I asked the highway patrolman, because he's one of the guys I've run into before, and I said, well, can you not crunch up these carts because you can still get by them with your tractor? And I saw him yell at the highway patrol, and he said the exact things. You run your outfit the way you run yours, and I'll run them the way I want to. I guess that means to know. And he went, tractors crunched them up. So I even told him when they first started doing it, I went and told the manager, I said, they're over there crushing up those carts, the ones you thought that we were cutting up for recycling. First of all, how are we going to have the resources and get him down there when you have to start with at least a ton of steel before you even start your count? And that's all the way in Oakland. We couldn't do that. We wouldn't do that. Most of these are plastic now anyway. Yeah. I said that's the last thing we're doing is we're always here, we've always been in the background, and we're always part of the circulation. This is our hometown. That's why a lot of people, eventually come back, and that's why we live on the outskirts, on the other side of the tracks, so to speak. This is it's running out of places to live. It's not like we choose to. And then the housing thing, you got to have a curfew and whatnot. We knew some other ones. He was smoking a cigarette in his place. He got kicked out. He wasn't used to the streets, and he died a month and a half later. Same with another one of our friends. He only had his new place only a week and passed away. Because it was just years of abuse. It takes a toll. It's not like a choice. But once you've been labeled, I even got a job at the Safeway after doing all the carts a year before the COVID. I was bringing them in, and then and I had 11 referrals alone. So a lot of them even from Renegades, and 11 employees, including the store manager. And she didn't hire me because she didn't think I would make the scheduling. I was like, well, I guess it's not considered prejudice because it wasn't race, it was housing disability.
Wow.
Which is not a classification yet. But she knew that everybody knew I could do the job, and I wanted the job, and I was honest. And I knew I was honest, and she wouldn't hire me because of where I lived, or I didn't have a front door or whatnot.
Right.
It was obvious. She claimed that I had the email I left was wrong. Well, here, let me give it to you now instead of having me come back on a specific day. Wait a minute. I have a day because if I'm not working for you guys, then I'm still trying to make a living or make a life. You know, you get my food. There's a schedule when I can get food. You know, when they throw it away before I can intercept it, you know, and then in the mornings, that's when I'd be like playing my guitar so I could make some money so I could be able to buy something. Because cat food is not covered by food stamps. When you want to keep your integrity, it's a thin line. So you got to keep holding on. So what do I do? What do I do? God always provided for me.
That's awesome.
And then I guess he didn't want me working for Safety. No matter how much I wanted to, he knew it wasn't be good for me.
Yeah. What do you think the most beneficial thing a person can give you when you're out on the streets is?
A reason to keep smiling, because I see people in their Mercedes and their nice Lamborghini and stuff, they got these frown lines and they're very unhappy with life. I'm like, why are they so unhappy if money is supposed to be so important? It's not. Money really isn't. You learn to value the dollar, and like when to have peace, we must have war. We have to have that balance. We have to have, because if not, we become complacent with where we are, and we become like holy, and like we're obligated, and that it's deserved of us that we receive these things because we have our titles. Like this whole money thing that the government's giving us, not everybody's getting it now. Now it feels like we're entitled to receive it. You know, we're thinking, oh, well, we got it last time. How come we're not getting it now? We really do think like that. So wait a minute. I am thinking like that. Just because I don't have this, and this, that means I have to have this before I get more. That I have to be, I have to be an old man, or I have to have children, and they say we need a population control. What do we do? We're all indoors, and now we have all these babies from the COVID thing being indoors. You know, the brown chicken wow happened because you're home with your loved one. Hey honey, and so we made babies, and we're already overpopulated. And things like this gas thing, we need to have a day where we just need to stop and think. If we don't stop now, we have 25 to 30 years left in the world. And the Earth has a natural way of adjusting itself. If AIs were to look at us, we were the worst thing that's ever happened to this planet. Our infestation, how we treat it, and how we use everything. It's like, and when there's a feeling like being unhoused, you get there and everybody knows it, well, then we're going to deal with it the way we're supposed to. Be happy if we still have the breath in our lungs.
There it is.
And still be smiling. And when I see everybody else is frowning, why are you frowning? You have a good life. You have options. I've seen old men that's like able to get out of their vehicles, do push-ups, like military push-ups. The guy's like 80-something years old, and you ask him, well, how do you do that? He's get up early in the morning and spend lots of time with loved ones.
That's good advice.
And I know one thing is like that of a young man, the glory of a young man is his strength. That of an elder is their grave. That we have our wisdom already. We have a right to speak because we have our knowledge that we've gained. It's important. Anybody could teach you something. If we're willing to, anybody has something to teach a young man, an old man.
How do you think the city has helped you or not helped you?
The city has helped us to the point where
Since you've
taking
been
the
out
garbage out and help like this. But what undermines that trust is when they're smiling at us and they're really like giving us blankets, but they have smallpox or something on them, like what Ms. Hardenwood did for all the Ohlone Indians in this area. That's what happened to them all. And 6, when she wanted the land, so she sent back to the East Coast for blankets and somebody that had smallpox. So when they came here and they were giving them away, they had smallpox on the blankets, and they didn't have the antibodies. And what happened? 6 months later, the 6,800 Ohlone Indians were wiped out. And unless they were abroad, they completely extinct a whole nation. And she got her land. Yeah. That she got all this right now at the edges of the salt flats.
Have you had the option to leave and chosen not to?
Yeah.
Why?
I've had the option to get another place because they'd be chaining me down. It's like, wait a minute, I can have this, but with restrictions, you might as well put me in jail. Because I have a curfew. Well, do you have a curfew to come and go as they please? No. And there's different levels of it. Well, then you want me to be over here, but when I wake up, I'm still 30 miles away from my home. So if you don't have one in the area, you don't have the unrestrictions like you do, like what Section 8 would offer us, then don't bother. I didn't even want even a hotel room for me. I said because it's an inconvenience for me, what I'm trying to do. Keep my statutes, keep my precepts, my morals that I've held on to, but keep me. You know, when you lay your head, says that's why I don't even sleep in a tent. It's like I smoke cigarettes, but I use my nose like a dog. I guess I get like how to use it because we pay attention after a while. We've always had those senses.
What do you think the greatest benefit and the greatest drawback of being unhoused is?
The greatest benefit I've got under what I believe in is my Creator. I really appreciate it. Like I said, to sweep my dirt, I appreciate it when the rain has stopped and I have the sun to come out to dry my things, because all storms subside. It's a matter of time. And that's what makes me, it's like I don't read my Bible all the time like I'm supposed to, like, oh, the structure. I read it when it's draws to me, and all of a sudden I remember things like, how do I remember that? Oh yeah, I know. Because I'm not supposed to memorize everything. I'm supposed to remember a memorable moment. So then I can teach with that testimony. And anybody could teach me that's gone through their own testimony. Because I can't live your life, I wouldn't live. And I couldn't live her life, I wouldn't survive. Because it's made for only one person, that life.
Yeah. What about the greatest drawback to being unhoused?
There isn't one.
Wow.
There isn't one at all.
What do you think the biggest misconception is that the public has about the unhoused?
Well, it even says it about Scripture about not taking from the homeless or the poor, or helping them out. You will be blessed, and we keep missing that. Even people that come from third world countries, once that new generation has come along, then Americanized, so to speak, we forget where our roots come from. That we came from hard work. You know, gold-fashioned things are like for centuries, thousands and thousands of years, they didn't have electricity. That's the second worst. The second worst invention ever is a car alarm. The first one is not an invention. This is a discovery. Then the Amish had it right. Electricity was not a good thing. And how many things come in electricity? A lot of things. It's supposed to be good things, but it seems like the more good things we're trying to out of it, there's side effects. Like medicines that we take, sometimes their side effects is worse than the ailment they're trying to cure. You know, it's like. For example, Viagra, you know what the side effects of Viagra is?
A headache?
Male pattern baldness. You know what the side effects of Rogaine is?
Erectile dysfunction?
Impotence. So they negate each other.
They just work with each
other.
Wow.
I was like, wait a minute, you can't take both. And, you know.
Wow.
So a bald man got it right.
That's right, we did. How did COVID affect the unhoused? Like, that you saw at least? Overall,
it makes everybody weary, because in 6 feet, it might as well be 600 feet, because it makes people doubt and fear and instill that. The worst fear of all is our imagination. And I remember a young man told me, I asked him some advice. I remember him looking in the sun, he says, believe half what you hear, 1/4 what you see. And I think about it now, I said, unless you convince me otherwise, because our truths, after what we believe is finally a truth, it's hard for us to change that. Because we're comfortable with what that is. Remember, Jesus had light brown hair and he had blue eyes. That's what, you know, so people accept him more. You know, he looked like a Persian, just like everybody else in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
He looked like, go figure, he would look like that.
How did you guys deal with all the rain that's been going through?
Well, we just had to. It was just, I mean, we knew that it was eventually going to stop, but we just weren't expecting this much rain.
Yeah. Did you have people coming down giving you supplies?
They did sometimes, but they didn't have enough for everybody. So a lot of times we just like, well, I can go without it. Especially the ones who've been here a long time.
Yeah.
They're used to not having, so they said go ahead and let the people have it, or the ladies have it, or whatnot.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's good.
What would you like to tell people who want to be more helpful or empathetic of what they could do to help?
Well, this goes to the ones that have faith. When you pray, remember, the church is just a wall. But faith is from the heart, and love is supposed to be for everybody. Remember that next time they pray, and that everybody could use prayer. I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to love. But when it's coming down on people that have more, the options than I do, it's like we don't have that many options to even defend that, and a lot of people just give up. And that's the saddest thing, is when they lose hope. And of those people with the frown lines, smile. You're in a car that's outside the rain. You have the option to get expensive gas, but it's still, you get gas. You have a vehicle to drive. You have options to turn. Say things like this: flush. Wow. You know how difficult that is sometimes. That's really difficult. Oh God.
But what do you do for medical care and such?
I don't need to. I don't get sick.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get sick.
Okay.
I mean, my horses, because I yelled it out the other day, but you get a little sniffles, but it doesn't hold me back. It just makes me stronger.
Hi again. Thanks for listening. If you have any interest in contributing an interview with a member of the unhoused community or a community worker working with the unhoused community to get their stories and increase the awareness of and empathy for the unhoused. Please go visit our website at understandingtheunhoused.org. Click on the contact button and we will get back to you as soon as possible. We'll set something up and get things moving. I hope after listening to this episode, you will have a little more patience, a little more empathy, and a little better understanding of the unhoused.